listening to the TCB Radio Network.
Hello, friends. This is Elvis Presley.
I am Marion Cox, the official sex symbol on TCB Radio Network.
This is Mindy Miller.
This is Ray Walker from the Jordanaires.
This is Elvis' Speedway co-star Victoria Paige Myrie.
This is Cynthia Pepper from Kissing Cousins.
This is Zoe Botto, author of Elvis Style, From Suit Suits to Jumpsuits.
This is Don Wilson, and if you're looking for Elvis, you're in the right place, TCB Radio Network.
Where it's all about Elvis.
Everything is about Elvis. It is all about Elvis.
All Elvis, all the time.
If you want to listen to something really stylish, listen to tcbradionetwork.com.
You can't do any better than that, so stay with us.
People who know Elvis know about TCB Radio Network, where it's all Elvis, all the time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Billy, the spa guy Stallings, has worked on pools and spas since he was a young child. His father has been a pool builder for over 40 years, and Billy worked with him building pools and servicing hot tubs while growing up. And Billy started singing at an early age, and as an Elvis fan, he started imitating Elvis and really feels like he learned how to sing from Elvis. Now, Elvis records were a great teacher because Billy has been on tour with his music and produced albums. These days, you can still find him making videos as an Elvis historian. His enthusiasm for Elvis leads him to create some of the most interesting Elvis videos on the web. In fact, he just hit 1 million views mark as Elvis fans all over the world are tuned in and anxiously awaiting each new video, brought to you by the spa guy, Billy Stallings. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's actually 13 million.
13.
Wow, 13 million. Holy cow.
That's amazing. That's how many views you've had on your channels combined?
Yeah, on that one channel, on my main channel.
Just on your main channel.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm doing 500,000 views a month now, about 500,000 a month.
That's amazing.
That's fantastic.
And it's growing like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw 35,000 subscribers just on one of them. That's really,
that's my main channel. I just bumped over 35 yesterday or the day before.
It's fantastic. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate it.
We'll start with the videos. How much time do you spend researching on average for a video? How much time does it take to produce?
Well, of course, it depends on the subject. Some subjects are easier than others. And if it's something, we get different ideas, and so I have a young lady that helps me, I call her Ashley Drew. That's not her real name, but she's like Nancy Drew, and she can find things, and she knows stuff, and she's very, very knowledgeable about Elvis history. So, so knowledgeable, I can send her a photograph and say, tell me about this photograph, and she could tell you everything about it.
Wow.
And it helps me because I'm not detailed about things like clothing, and she will be detailed about clothing. She'll go, okay, well, this happened during this time period because look at the shirt he's wearing. He wore those during, those things, and I would never notice that. Mm-hmm. And so what we would do is if we were starting to do I'll come up with an idea or she'll come up with an idea, we'll create a Google Doc for that and share the doc. And so I'll input things in the doc, she'll input things in the doc, and then when I'm ready to go film, I'll have all of the components that we need, all the knowledge that we need, photographs, all those things to create the story. So when I'm standing there at the site, I have something to reference. And in the early days, I didn't have that luxury. The early days, I was looking up things on the fly and trying to figure that out as I went. And when I went to Germany, for instance, she made me docs for all of Germany, for all of the spots in Germany, the addresses, the history of things that happened there. And I'm going, later this month, I'm going to Biloxi, and we're working on docs for Biloxi in New Orleans, so I can go film those things. Wow. And I think I may have an interview with somebody very close to Elvis that is in that area. It's not a done deal yet, but I actually was given the information for this person by Ronnie McDowell. He is friends with this person and gave me the information and hooked me up with it. We just haven't scheduled it yet, but I'm working on scheduling.
Wow.
And so the long story short is when we're doing a video, it could be as simple as I think of something on the fly, I go film it, and then I go edit it. But I would say the average video, and I put out 3 every week, the average video takes about 6 hours production time, roughly. I edit about 20 hours a week. Wow. And that's at night. You know, I have a real job, so I have to run my business during the day. So my poor wife has to sit there and watch me edit every night while we're watching TV, you know. Mm-hmm. And but it's a process, but, you know, it's a labor of love. I love the stories. I love telling the stories, and getting the things right is important too. We spend a lot of time researching and looking things up and confirming things. I'm very fortunate now. I have the luxury of knowing people like I mentioned earlier, Billy Stanley and Billy Smith and Danny Smith, and people that Sam Thompson, Dick Grove, people that were in the entourage, if you will, and grew up there, that I can call and ask questions. You know, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that really helps us with our research as well. But there's some things, like I told you, the Follow That Dream stuff, that you were actually there at the courthouse for some of that stuff that I filmed. And I don't remember how long ago that was, but it was a while ago, and I've never put that video out because I still have other components that I need to tell that story properly. So there's a lot of stories that it takes me a couple of years to get all the pieces to properly tell it.
I think that's wonderful. You're all about the details. And then on top of that, you have the guys themselves, the people that were there to call and verify that, hey, is this exactly how it went? And is this true? And I think that's why you've really caught on. Everybody really appreciates all that extra homework that you do. It really shows.
Well, and I appreciate that. And you know, I think, well, one thing is of course I didn't have that luxury of those people even knowing who I was in the beginning. So we really had to do our homework, and now we still really do our homework, but we have ways of, you know, we have other luxuries of being able to just call people that we didn't have before. And those people are very nice that I mentioned, mm-hmm. and very forthcoming with information, and they're helpful. They want to set the record straight on things and be straightforward with things.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me, do you have an ultimate goal for this, or an ultimate dream, something you hope is going to happen, or I'm sure your wife probably asked you, when is this going to end?
Well, you know, I have a couple of things. One thing is I would love to do and I wouldn't really call it a movie. It would be longer than a movie, but I would love to do a series of videos that are as accurate as we can make them to the story. And what I mean is, when you watch a lot of these movies, like they came out with that CMT, I think it was CMT that did the Sun Studios thing.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
And that's, you know, I watch those things and I just cringe because they're not even close to the story. It's like somebody that didn't know anything about it wrote the screenplay for that, and it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let's tell them what actually happened.
Yeah, it's all dramatized.
And what's interesting to me is there's places that are still there that were part of the story, like Lauderdale Court, like Audubon, like Memphis Recording Service, and I could go on and on and on. Scotty's house, the apartment that he met Elvis in the first time that Elvis auditioned for him, those structures are still there. Why are we not going to those structures and reenacting the story instead of creating all these things? And that would be a long-term dream. Another dream would be to be able to make these videos actually for EPE, where I was able to go in, look at the archives, pick stories, and tell stories about particular items and that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know if y'all saw the bicycle video.
I did.
But, you know, that's a bicycle hanging in a corner that is a giant part of Elvis's history that they did not know was a giant part of Elvis's history. To them, it was just a bicycle hanging in the corner.
It's incredible. Did anybody see your video yet? Have they contacted you?
They have not, and I wouldn't expect them to, but I've got something coming up. I'm actually getting ready to be on a episode of The Gates of Graceland.
Cool.
And the way I work that out, and I'm wondering how they're going to react when they find out that it's me, because I paid for the opportunity. In January, they had the Elvis auction. You know, they do the auction where they auction off items and stuff. And in that auction, they did things like you could have your favorite muscle car, bring it to Graceland, and do a 1-hour photo shoot in front of the house with nobody there but you. You know, they did things like that, and one of the things that they auctioned off was guest host the Gates of Graceland, and I bought it.
Nice.
Brilliant.
So we'll have to see. So they're going to be forced to reckon with me or deal with me one way or the other.
Absolutely.
And we'll see. You know.
For you, that's fantastic. So, Billy, I got a question for you. I keep seeing "tighten up, tighten up." What does that mean?
You know, that's the thing from my childhood. My dad would always say "tighten up," and that means to be the best you that you can be. Always strive for excellence and do the best job that you can.
I love it.
In everything that you do. And I think that that's a short version of, man, you know, be the best you that you can be.
Yeah, he's even got T-shirts made, just so everybody
Yeah.
knows. Those are still available,
I have T-shirts
right?
now.
They're still available. Everybody can still buy them, right?
Absolutely, yeah. On my website, bstallings.com.
There you go.
I have T-shirts. I also have them on eBay for people that are in other countries. I ship, eBay has a global shipping program, and we do a lot of shipping. Part of my business is shipping spa parts all over the world. So all of my European stuff that I ship is through eBay because they handle all of the other paperwork, where basically I ship it to eBay, they ship it to them. Oh. And so it keeps me from having to deal with customs and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's great.
Brilliant.
That's great. Well, listen, will you tell us about the Jefferson Street Bridge Ministry?
Yes, the Jefferson Street Bridge Ministry was started by a lady named Candy Christmas, and Candy was suffering from depression and actually suicidal. And a lot of you may know, if you're music fans, Candy, her family was the Hemp Hills. They were a Southern gospel group. Her dad is in the Southern Gospel Hall of Fame for writing songs and that kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
That's all right.
They have so many of our interviews
the
that
dog barking. She rarely barks, but naturally when I'm doing something like this, she barks like crazy.
Okay.
So Candy, she grew up on the road singing Southern gospel and that kind of stuff, and then broke off and actually became her own artist. She does a lot of the Bill Gaither stuff. So if you watch the Bill Gaither Homecoming series and stuff like that, you'll see Candy Christmas in there. And she started the Bridge Ministry, I guess it's been, I'm going to say a little over 15 years ago. And she was suffering from depression, as I mentioned, suicidal, that kind of stuff. And she went somewhere one day, and a man said, you look like, you're struggling. And she said, yeah, I'm not feeling great and that kind of stuff. And he said, well, I've got something that I think will help you. And so he invited her to come under the bridge, and he said, you could fix gumbo. She's from Louisiana originally. He said, you can fix gumbo, right? And she said, yeah, I can, a big pot. And so she fixed gumbo, and they were feeding the homeless out of the back of a pickup truck. And she said that really helped her with her struggles, because she realized that, you think you got problems, but there's other people with, that don't even have a home to live in,
Yeah.
And so I think that really kind of brought it home for her. And the other aspect of it is that she figured out that, and this is actually a scientific fact, that, and Elvis knew this very well, is giving releases an endorphin that is very uplifting in your brain, And so Elvis always loved to give, and so she actually started the Bridge Ministry, and now it's a giant thing. And I've been there. I actually retired from it recently, but I was there for 13 years. And they serve the homeless under the Jefferson Street Bridge every single Tuesday night, rain, sleet, or snow, no matter what. They're there and haven't missed a Tuesday, and it's been over 15 years now. So it's quite an interesting thing. And what's funny is Candy's mother was actually asked out by Elvis twice, and she turned him down twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And her mother's name was Labriska. And her father, there's photographs of her dad, the one that I told you is in the Southern Gospel Hall of Fame. Elvis would attend the Southern Gospel singings and that kind of stuff, and there's photos with him, with Elvis walking by and that kind of stuff.
Amazing.
Elvis would actually go to the gospel singings, and they had a special room for him that he could go in on the side of the stage that nobody would bother him. Wow. And so he did those, and those were at Ellis Auditorium, of course, until that was changed to the new auditorium. And I think they might have even had them, and I may be making this up, but I think they may have had them at Mid-South as well.
Wow. Okay. So she turned Elvis down twice. Did she ever give you any reason why she did that?
He was too rough. You know, he was. Wow. She was a Christian girl and going to church and all that stuff, and her family was singing gospel music, and she just thought that he was too rough. And he would see her at these gospel singings because back in the day now, before he was famous, he would always go to Ellis Auditorium to where the gospel singings were, and she would be there as a young girl.
Yeah, see, I just find this so ironic because you go back and you realize that Elvis's only 3 Grammys were for gospel music. And yes. And yet when he first hit the scene, everybody thought he was the devil incarnate. And it's just so it's just an amazing dichotomy there.
It is, but he was really rough relative to the way the nation was at that time. The way it was, let's say the way it was portrayed on TV.
Yes.
I think that it probably wasn't as straight as you see it on TV in the 50s.
Yeah.
But they were portraying it as that, so he was considered kind of radical. Now he would be, nobody'd look at him twice because, everything's real radical now, just pure craziness out there.
Yeah.
Are you saying the 50s was not like Happy Days?
I wish it was, and, I would have loved to have grown up in that time, but I don't think that it actually really was in real life.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of radical, I did a little homework on you, and I want people to know that you didn't wake up the successful YouTube star and everything else. I know that, you've gone through some trials, and you've had some real life things happen to you. Do you want to go back and share a little bit about, what the road's been like for you, for Billy Stallings?
All right, in what aspect?
Well, as far as your business, I know you had a business at one time that wasn't as maybe successful as it is now.
Oh, you're talking about the engine store. Okay. When I moved to Nashville, I actually worked at a Ford dealership. When I was 18 years old, I needed a job. I had gone in the military. I went in the Air Force. And just before I went in the Air Force, a short time before, I was on the delayed enlistment program when I was in high school. And my dream was to be an air traffic controller. So I had signed up, enlisted in the Air Force, had a guaranteed job as an air traffic controller. And that means that you go through all the paperwork, you do everything, you're signed up, but they wait till after you're finished with high school and then a period of time, and then you go into basic training. During that period of time, I kind of got a wild hair and decided to run from the highway patrol on my motorcycle, and they hit me on my motorcycle, the highway patrolman did, and broke my right leg. And it was a severe compound fracture, tibia and fibia. And I wore a cast on my right leg for about 9 months. And when I went into basic training, when I went in the Air Force, I had only been out of my cast for 1 month. And, it's really, when it comes to the physical effort that you have to put out in basic training, having any kind of disability or your leg not being up to par doesn't bode well there. And so I was struggling doing left, right was really the only problem that I had. I could run, but it was really painful to run in step. So my TI made me go to the base doctor, and they x-rayed my leg and said, man, I don't know how you ever got in here with your leg that messed up. And so they put me out at 6 months. So suddenly there I am back home. No plan, but the plan that I had didn't work, so here I am starting over. So I went to a car dealership. I decided that I could probably be a mechanic, and never had done that, but I thought, I could do it. So I went to a dealership and actually told them that I was a mechanic, and they hired me. And I started the next Monday. And I worked there until I was 35. And in about 2 years, I was running the place. I was the manager. And it was a Ford dealership. And a lot of things happened in that period of time, as you can imagine. But I took to being a mechanic. It was actually very easy. And I was very fortunate. And did very well in the car business. So when I decided I wanted to move, and I played in bands during all that time. I was a lead singer of a country band for about 10 years, and when I knew that I was going to move, I had to come up with some way of getting me to Nashville, and that was to open that business called the Engine Store. I joined up with a company here in Nashville called Groom's Engines, and we put our money together and created that business. And about a year and a half in, I realized that I hated working on cars. The car dealership I really enjoyed because it was Fords. I knew Fords. I'd grown up with that, that car line. When I was doing the Engine Store, I was working on all kinds of brands that I really didn't know anything about. And I was way out of my comfort zone and just struggled with it. I didn't enjoy it. And so I finally went back to them and said, guys, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't want to do this. And so I left, lost all the money that I invested in it, and went on to do other things. I went door to door selling termite pest control for a period of time, and I was pretty successful with that. And then they promoted me to branch manager, where I had all these employees, and my money cut in. When I was by myself, I made twice as much as I did when I was managing all these people. And so I just kept moving on, and eventually ended up creating this hot tub business called the Spa Guy, and it's been successful beyond my wildest imagination.
It's just so amazing. I think it's inspiring, and I just wanted people to know. I always like to hear the backstory. You don't wake up successful. Billy, my goodness, you've taken so many roads. You've worked so hard to get where you are. So it's
I like to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but faking your way into a mechanic's job, you got to know a little something about cars.
Amazing. Well, he learned really quick.
Honestly, guys, I had never worked on a car other than when I was growing up, we didn't call the washing machine repairman to fix our washing machine. If it broke, we fixed it.
Right.
And if we needed brake pads on our car, we put it on there. We changed our own oil. So I had experience doing basic things at home, but I'm a fast learner, and I needed a job. I had a girlfriend, which I'm still married to, that I wanted to be able to provide for, and I had to do something to be successful.
Yeah.
So I got in there, and my manager told me years later, he said, man, I nearly fired you every day. He said, but you worked so hard, you wanted to do it so bad that I just let you keep going. And, and I did very well there. The car business was really good to me. The guy that owned the business, it's a little Ford dealership in LaGrange, North Carolina. The guy's name's Win Odom, and he was a mentor to me, a business mentor, and, he gave me a shot because he didn't have to hire me. I was 20 years old, 21 years old when he made me service manager, and he could have hired somebody with experience, but he gave me a shot. I'm forever grateful to him for that.
Yeah, it's so important that you have someone that believes in you.
That is indeed is true.
Have you ever thought about doing tours?
That's Ashley Drew is going to be moving to Tennessee very soon, and she lives in California with her husband Mario. and we're going to open a tour company. And she will be heading it up, and she'll be doing tours. I'll be doing tours. But the answer is yes. We're in the process of hashing that out, how it's going to go, and figuring out how we're going to do it. And of course, I'm busy. I couldn't do it every day, but I could do a couple of days a month, or maybe a day a week or something like that. We'll have to see how it works out. But she's planning on doing tours too, and that, she's as knowledgeable or more knowledgeable than me in a lot of subjects. And so we're going to we're going to create a tour plan. The other thing that we're working on, and you didn't ask me about this, but I'll interject.
Yeah, please do.
Is I am creating an app, or we are creating an app. I've been working on it. It's been in development for about a year and 3 or 4 months now. We're still months from the beta test, from the first implementation. But basically, it's called Go See 'em, which is Go See Museum, and it's going to, the first entries are all going to be Elvis. So we're building it originally for Elvis fans. So basically what it'll be is every Elvis location will be in it with stories and photographs and backstories based off of GPS location. Wow. So you'll be able to choose your subject, which would be Elvis or music, and you can make it as wide or as narrow as you want to search. But for instance, if you were let's say you were living in England and you were coming to Memphis and you wanted to pre-plan your trip, you'll be able to go into the app, and it'll be a desktop version, an iOS version, and an Android version. You'll be able to go into the app and choose the locations that you want to visit, put them in a queue, and they will line up like your GPS would in your car based off of your location. Where am I at right now? And you can even have it alert you based off of where you're at. You may be driving down over by, let's say, by the Overton Park Shell, and it alerts you and says the karate studio Elvis was in was right here. Being Overton Park Shell, Elvis played his first paid concert was over here. It'll start lining those things out, and we're starting with Elvis first, and then I'll go to other things that are interesting to me. And then what I want in it is all history, no matter what it is. Civil War, World War II, music history, movie history. I want all history in it. Wow. And so we're building the beginning of it. And I have a beta version of it on my phone that works. So we have a working app and a working version. But we're still, it's still not done yet, but we're working on it. I have a team. And I've invested a lot of money in it, as you can imagine, but we're getting closer and closer.
Wow.
Wow, congratulations. I hate that we're running out of time. I know you're a busy guy and you got to get going, but I feel like we've been given an exclusive. Have you talked about this in other places?
I have not.
All right, there we go. There
That's
you have
excellent.
It. It's exciting
That's excellent.
stuff.
But that app is going to be always kind of be a work in progress, really.
Oh, it's so exciting.
Yeah, well, as you build it now, some of the future things, we're going to have a version 1, which will be what I described, and there's some other pieces to it, and I'll give you an example. We're working on. I'm trying to develop some technology where you hear the word virtual reality a lot now. And so we're trying to create some technology around virtual reality. An example would be Johnny Cash's house. I live in Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is where Johnny Cash lived, and his home, of course, burned. And so it was always a point of pride when people would come to my town to visit. I'd say, well, you got to go see Johnny's house. So I'd take them over there. Well, now I get to go over there and show them a house that doesn't exist anymore. In fact, I took a family from Australia today to go over and see it. They came because they saw my videos. They came to visit me, and I took them over there to see Johnny's house. Well, unfortunately, the house is gone. So we're going to make some virtual reality things where you can hold your phone up and you can see the house the way it was before it burned.
Oh, wow.
Through the camera of the phone. So it's all going to be GPS based. And we're going to do the same thing with everything that if it's a major place, a major building that's gone, like the Colonel's house is gone now, you'll be able to go to where the Colonel's house was and hold your phone up and see the house the way it was before it was torn down.
That's just amazing.
That's taking it the next step.
That is absolutely amazing.
I mean, you're already doing
Yeah.
these videos and all that, but that's just the next step. That's amazing.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to try to revolutionize for people that are like us that love history and all history, but specifically for me, music history. I'm going to revolutionize the way that we find the historic places, and we're really excited about it. My app developers are beside themselves. They can't. They think it's one of the best ideas that they've ever heard. And by the way, it's going to be a Facebook-esque app. Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to interact with your friends. You'll be able to have your own page. And we want people that have things like, an example would be, let's say you find the spot for Graceland on there, because we'll put every single location that's related to Elvis on there. So let's say you go to the Graceland location. If you were at Graceland, let's say you were there in June of 1986, and you have photographs in a shoebox, we're going to have a timeline on each location where we want you to get your photos out and put them in the timeline based off of the date. Oh, wow. So it's a way that you can get all these photographs that you took that you really don't have anybody to show them to. Get them out, other than family and friends, get them out and put them in the timeline, and we'll be able to go back and look through that timeline and find other historic things, when things happened, when cars were there, when they disappeared, and start finding dates and things like that to unravel even more of the history.
Well,
we are ultra excited, as you can imagine.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal.
Well, we definitely have to have you back on the show to update us on the progress. Again, I hate to let you go. I know how busy you are, but I want to let everybody know the Spa Guy is on YouTube, and how can they find you? What's the quickest way to find you?
If you just go to YouTube and put Spa Guy and Elvis in, it'll pull my videos up. I have 212 Elvis-only videos on that channel. On my second channel, I don't know how many I have that are Elvis-related, but my second channel, which is called the Weekly Spa Guy or Weekly Spa Guy, because I put a video out every week on there. Those are longer videos. So when I went to Germany, let's say, when I traveled from Holland to Germany, and I film all of the travel and all that stuff, and it still has the Elvis stuff in it, but it has all the other things. So those videos are hours long. So each one of them will be like, I'll do a set of 5 series, which is 5 hours long, but it's me traveling all over Europe and stuff. And I played with the band, in Europe last year, with Bob Lanning on drums and with Jim Murray from the Imperials singing. And by the way, you mentioned the Happy Days earlier. I wanted to mention this about Bob Lanning. This is a little tidbit for you. Bob Lanning played drums for Elvis in 1970. And Bob was the drummer on the Flintstones theme.
No way.
The Happy Days theme. On the Love Boat theme. Yes, sir. That's Bob Lanning.
Wow. That's great.
That's pretty cool.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Billy Stallings, inventor, musician, Elvis historian, tour guide, app developer. You're a true Renaissance man. We thank you so much for being on TCB Radio Network with us today.
Thank y'all so much for having me, and I'd love to do it again.
Right.
Absolutely. Thanks once again.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks for listening to our show today. Don't forget to subscribe to TCB Radio Network on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast platform. By subscribing, you'll get a notification as soon as our latest episode drops. While you're at it, please rate us with a 5-star review. This will help other Elvis fans find our show. Also, this just in, you can now subscribe to our podcast episodes on YouTube. We also have a YouTube channel that includes archived episodes of our Facebook Live broadcasts and more. You can find links to this and so much more at tcbradionetwork.com.
TCB Radio Network is strictly a fan publication, not affiliated in any way with Elvis Presley Enterprises or any of its affiliates or subsidiaries. Please visit us online at tcbradionetwork.com. All trademarks, product names, company names, and logos mentioned are the properties of their respective owners. All opinions stated within do not necessarily reflect the opinions of anyone else, and certainly not Elvis Presley Enterprises.
Still the King, our theme song for TCB Radio Network podcast, was written by Shane Douglas, produced by Terry Fullwider at Blue Spot Studios, and performed by Peter Alden and his band Crown Electric Company, featuring David Fontana, son of Elvis Presley's original drummer DJ Fontana, on drums.
Elvis Presley is still the king. Well, he's still the king. That's all. Man, he sure could sing.